they didn't shoot well offensively. What we said about Villanova is, God, they're just going to blitz you. They're going to shoot 60% from three-point range. They're going to do it from the field. But they didn't do that against Kansas. It was their defense that won. I mean, are they a viable candidate to win it all?
Well, I think they definitely are because they're showing right now that they can win and skin a cat in different ways. They won with outside shooting and skill level, obviously, in the first 3 games of the NCAA tournament. But then against Kansas, they showed that they were very comfortable winning in the mud. Villanova only shot 4 of 18 from 3 against Kansas. But the thing about Villanova that nobody talks about is how disruptive a team they are defensively. We saw it against Iowa. We saw it really against Kansas. And, it was a blue-collar type win against the Jayhawks, but it was the polar opposite of what we've seen from Villanova. And, look, there were a lot of questions during the season about how good Villanova was. And I think, looking back on it, guys, the loss to Seton Hall in the Big East tournament title game really helped Villanova refocus for the bigger picture. I really think that that's something that you really have to keep an eye on.
Yeah, they only lost twice since January 24th. One of those, John just referenced. The other one was at the Cintas Center against the top 5 Xavier team. They lost by about 8 or 9 points, whatever it was. Listen, like I said, just for the context of the statement, even though I obviously was off about Villanova, my point was when they got named number 1 and they were on the road and they played St. John's down in Philly, their first home game as number 1, I said, if this is the best team in the country, then college hoops is bad.
Right.
And I really believe that. And I love Jay. I love Villanova. I respect them. I just looked around and I said, man, there's no pros, maybe with the exception of Hart. Maybe Brunson, we'll see. Who knows?
Ways away, though. He's a ways away.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
But they're so mature. O'Chef was a senior. Archidiakonos a senior. Hart's been around for a while. Jenkins is a junior. And the one freshman who we mentioned, Brunson, his dad played in the NBA, so he's not affected by the stage. I think they're going to beat Oklahoma. I think that their quickness on the perimeter, you tell me if I'm wrong, will enable them to flash doubles at Buddy and then retreat and not get burned by other guys with open threes.
The thing is this. We've seen Villanova, for all intents and purposes, disrupt teams, with their pressure. Oklahoma has not 2, but 3 guards in that backcourt, and they beat West Virginia 2 out of 3 times this year and were able to handle their press. So I actually think that Oklahoma, because of their quality players on the perimeter, is going to be less affected by Villanova's pressure compared to the other teams that they have played. Now, I'm not going to say that Villanova isn't going to be able to cause issues in other ways, but if you're asking me right now if there's a horse to bet on that game, I would bet on the Sooners.
Why is Buddy Hield so good? I mean,
the way he gets separation, it looks like he's pushing off, but he's not pushing off. He gets separation on his shot.
It seems like every
better
shot
than
is an
anybody
open
else.
Shot. It seems like every shot's an open shot, even when it's contested. It feels like it's open
because he's that good at getting separation.
Tiki. Tiki. Now
I was going to ask because look, we told the story how he decided to come out last year. Got told his grade wasn't that high, second-round pick. So he comes back. How do you improve that much in a year? You know what I mean? Where he's
Gym
player
rat.
of the year.
And here's one thing about Oklahoma's.
Is it that simple?
Here's one thing about Oklahoma's nucleus. Here's one thing about Oklahoma's nucleus that I think you have to look at for all intents and purposes. The core 4 of this team: Woodard, Cousins, Hield, Spangler. This is a 3rd NCAA tournament together. Usually, especially now in college basketball, you see these teams that are together for a couple of years. Okay, somebody leaves, somebody goes to the NBA. This is the 3rd time they've been in the NCAA tournament. So the nucleus of this team is very tight.
Well, and to follow that up here, Teak, the question that you just posed, because he threw it at me earlier in the show, and it's a good one. How does somebody take that leap forward? I would make it more specific because we've seen this from freshman to sophomore year.
Yeah.
With others. We've seen this from sophomore to – it's very rare when you see it like this from junior to senior year. John, you'll know the name. What's the kid who played for Notre Dame in the mid-2000s, was first-team All-Big East? Not to put you on the spot as much as that, but I figured you know this. I'm just kind of forgetting the name. He was really good for his senior year.
Tim Abramitis?
No, it wasn't a white kid. I know Timmy's name. He was a guard, handled the ball a little bit.
Torrey Jackson.
Yes, Torrey Jackson. That's the kind of kid where that's like the most recent example for me where from junior to senior you went from, I don't want to say pedestrian, Buddy obviously wasn't that, but from good to great. I mean, it's been a quantum leap. And Tiki said, who does he remind you of? I said Brandon Roy before his knees went out. You buy that a little bit?
Yeah, little Jody Meeks, too. I think, little Jody Meeks, too. It's a tough comparison. I mean, he's a volume scorer and a volume shooter. I think the thing The difference about Buddy versus somebody like Brandon Roy, in my opinion, he's getting all of his baskets from deep. I mean, I'm not all, but I mean, it's very.
Is that a good or a bad thing at the next level?
Well, you would tell me. You're more of an NBA guy than I am. But what I'm saying is,
probably bad.
Brandon Roy could break you down and get to the rim. Buddy is a long distance guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm saying 70, 80% of his buckets are jump shots from long distance. I mean, this guy is not somebody who I think, is always going to be able to get to the rim whenever he wants. This guy makes his living by getting buckets from deep.
And he's not 6'7", he's only 6'4",
Yeah.
change. Yeah, that's a good point. Jon Rothstein with us here in studio, Tiki and Tierney, CBS Sports Radio. So, John, do you know, because we were trying to come up with a number. We always do this before we go down to the Final Four. Try to take a guess at the percentage of representation for the fan bases. Looking at Nova, OU, Syracuse, and UNC, just given where OU is in relation to the state of Texas.
Right.
You imagine Sooner Nation's going to descend upon Houston and take over. But you have programs that are incredibly proud and rich and with far-reaching
alumni
bases. Yeah. I mean, what do you think? I mean, who's going to run the town in terms of fans?
Great question. I always think that Syracuse and Carolina are going to have their shares of fans. And, Villanova has a great fan base, but it's not as big of a school. So I would say, let's say we're on percentages right now. I would say 30-30 for North Carolina, Syracuse, 20-25 Oklahoma, 15 Villanova.
Same neighborhood.
Yeah.
And,
only 25 Oklahoma?
20. I mean, that's what I would say.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what he said, yeah.
I mean, they're right there.
And by the way, there's no right or wrong answer.
Right.
And by the way, we'll find out in a few days.
And you'll feel it, too. Like last year, you could feel it a little bit.
Well, I'm excited because, John and I, last time I roomed with somebody that wasn't like my wife was this guy.
In Detroit, right?
In Detroit. Yeah, at the Final Four.
Are you guys rooming together? Is that it?
No, are you insane? No, man. Come on. CBS, we roll high, man. We got the suite.
We're grown
Santa's got to sleep with somebody, not us.
Over 40. That doesn't happen.
Bingo.
Exactly.
Unless you want it to, and we don't.
No, like Sam there. Who's not back there, so he can't respond. But, the one team we haven't talked about.
I think they made, DA sleep with a homeless guy in San Francisco at the Super Bowl, poor guy.
He had
him and Marash.
Yes. That's right. Well, whatever. That's a whole nother behind-the-scenes story. But anyway.
They hooked us up.
Yeah. North Carolina, they're only one seed left. I mean, it's crazy to think about it. Only one seed, number one seed left in the tournament right now. But they feel like the favorite.
No question.
Is that easily the case?
Well, I think the thing you need to look at for what we're going to see with North Carolina right now is the fact that their point guard play has finally caught up with the rest of their team. In North Carolina's 2 wins against Indiana and Notre Dame over the weekend, Joel Berry has 13 assists and 1 turnover.
It's nice.
So now, all of a sudden, you start looking at the fact that North Carolina has a capable ball handler. They have a play starter and a playmaker. They have somebody who can set the table to go with the 4 horsemen up front and also a renewed Marcus Page, a revved-up Marcus Page. And, this is the amazing thing when you look at this, and we were talking about this on our show last night. Notre Dame shot 55% from the field and 50% from 3 and lost by 14 and had to make a 3 late to cut it to 14. That's how good North Carolina is right now. They are a cut above the rest.
And by the way, we cannot do a show and not at least reference that throw down by Beacham.
Oh, yes.
Which was, because it's easy to forget about Notre Dame, even though they probably overachieved this year. And I love Mike Bray. That dunk was sick.
Ridiculous.
That was an NBA. That was
ridiculous.
One hand from the side. Boom.
And
he's a shooter.
And, for Notre Dame, too, for a program that has always struggled in the NCAA tournament, they got the back-to-back Elite Eights. So they've struggled for years in the NCAA tournament. They got the back-to-back Elite Eights. They've kind of gotten through that rough patch, and, that was attached to their program.
I remember when they hired Mike Bray. I was doing the network's no longer around. That's how I knew Scotty Frell. I made the Sports Fan Network back in the day in 2001. Remember doing a show, and this is why I remember I said, let people do their job before you denounce their capability. They have Notre Dame hired who? Mike Bray from Delaware? What the hell's this guy going to do there? I buried him. He's pretty good.
He's doing all right.
He's pretty good. And by the way, Notre Dame, Swedish uniforms.
Yeah, they do got
I like their unis.
What was up with his foot? I don't know if I noticed. Was it broken?
He got hurt.
Right?
Something, he hurt something. But
on Friday it happened?
After the Wisconsin game.
Well, Roy Williams cut himself.
I saw that
last year.
The net.
Hunter ruptured his Achilles. I mean, coaching's becoming dangerous.
It's dangerous out there. We're not talking about kickball here.
Hey, what do you think about your boy Calipari with all the players, with the draft, the new rule? I mean, John.
Typical him, just in terms of just being ahead of the curve. We're out of the NCAA tournament. So how do we get back into the headlines?
Yep.
We do something that nobody else is going to do. We're going to put our walk-ons in the combine, or at least attempt to get our walk-ons
Are
in the
they
combine.
really going to go?
Does he actually push his guys out of school? Like,
No,
that was
no.
Oh, wait, the Harrison brothers. Hold on a second. No.
They clearly
No, I
weren't
know
ready.
for a fact
They clearly were not ready to
that
go
the
at that
Harrison
stage.
brothers, they were basically getting nudged out. Get out, time to go.
Well, this is what I'll say. If a kid has a chance to be drafted in the first or second round and it's in their best interest for their family, I'm sure that they're told to move along. But I think one thing that you need to look at is the NBA draft rules, okay, are great for the players right now to find out where they stand and to go through that process. But I've written this and I've said it in multiple forums. It is awful for college basketball coaches because if you're a team, okay, that doesn't usually have pros and you have a guy who's a fringe first or second round pick and he's going to go through the process, that leaves you about 8 weeks where you can't plan and maybe take a graduate transfer or take a high school kid or a junior college kid that can fill that scholarship. And as a coach, you're held hostage.
You know, I mean, we're kind of out of time, but he raises a good point here, Teak. The business of college hoops has changed. Graduate transfers is really a key element to recruiting now.